So, difficulty with my phone, but we were discussing, Mr. Corfield was discussing the support at the school, and has been facilitated and quite more effective this year.
Yeah, compared to last year. Last year I was at a high priority school that I was almost failing according to the state qualifications. So that was hard. There's a lot more work, a lot more um, very specific expectations. So it's today, or like now, it's a lot. There's a little bit more independence and a little autonomy for us to teach in their classrooms.
Okay. Um, is your grade level team supportive? And do you feel that due to the extraneous COVID 19, are they doing more? Are they asking more of you as a teacher? Or do you feel that it's compared to last year's?
Um, so I want to say like it's been a lot like a learning process. Last year was a lot more paper pen because the students had to take the star, which was paper and pen, so it was a lot of getting them ready for that. Now there's lot of uncertainty, so we're not sure if it's going to be online or on paper pen. So kind of like to work around that, and also trying to navigate the resources that we have and port them over to a digital platform has been challenging. Um, I mean, I've definitely gotten to a hang of it. I'm creating a lot more my own materials that align, so I think that's a positive. But in terms of like workload, I think that just finding the materials isn't enough. We have to find them and then figure out a way to effectively port them over, and that can take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour to per lesson. So um,
As a novice teacher, from comparing from last year and this year, how about support from administration and contact with them, expectations,
um,
culture, climate?
So last year, as I said, it was a high priority school, and we had a very everybody on the admin team was new, not to just the school, but also to Dallas ISD. And then Dallas ISD has a very specific culture, a very unique culture that is hard to acclimate to. So being a novice teacher and also working with novice administrators and coaches, I think was difficult because a lot of people had different ideas of their interpretation of what the district wanted and what our expectations were. I do feel like that does happen a lot in Dallas because it's very top down. In my opinion, in Dallas, where like they have very specific guidelines that you want to follow, but it's very dense, such as like the rubric that they follow for their system, the TEI system, which is they try to say it's very clear and easy to follow, but it's like 30 pages and two like 5 or 6 different categories per session or whatever. So trying to adhere to that is hard for us, and I think that also for the administrators. There's sometimes some mix-ups, and they tell us we should be doing something and then it changes as soon as they tell us it's to do one thing, and it changes to another expectation. That happened last year too, and I know that last year, for example, we asked for support, and what happened was, I like to liken it to, instead of giving us life vests when the ship was sinking, they gave us more anchors, which they can say, oh, like we helped, but it was difficult in that. Eventually, of course, I got acclimated to that, and I think I'm getting acclimated to this, but it's just a waiting game.
Were you able to have the open communication with administrators in the past and right now?
So in the past, I was very vocal about what was happening and my feelings. For example, there was something that happened that I felt very passionate about, that it shouldn't have happened within the context of the school and also in a professional level. Actually, multiple things. It was, they listened, and I feel like the administration in the campus listened, which was a positive. But here, with the COVID thing, there are some issues with, us feeling like we're getting pushed a little to the side in terms of relaying information, because we kind of hear it from the grapevine, as opposed to getting a formal like notification. But I guess it's complicated because it is COVID-19, and but again, like on our minds as teachers is how can we best protect ourselves, our families, and our acquaintances.
Do you feel that the administration has made it clear on the vision and mission of the campus?
So I do know that the vision of the campus is to promote equity, and so yeah, equity I think is the main goal. I do know this isn't necessarily a campus level, but the district has a program that they use, and I'm a bilingual teacher, and the program in the English test for the English test takers has a dictionary integrated right into the system, so I can teach the kids how to use that. But with my Spanish test takers, they don't have that feature, so I feel that that is the vision. And again, because Dallas is very top heavy or top down, that if they're giving us a program to use, that's one like that should have been worked out in the initial phases of buying the program, is they should have had that done. And that's only one example. Excuse me, that's only one example, and the most salient at the moment that I can come up with.
Okay.
Does it make sense? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, because like you said, Dallas is a big district, and because of COVID, there's a lot of programs that are being tested and implemented. How do you feel about that aspect?
I think that overwhelmed at times. There, especially, yeah. So, the first month of school, I was doing things a certain way. Then we were told to use a different program, or got presented to Nearpod, I think it was, and I was using Nearpod. Then we were told, no, we have to use data tracker, something that tracks the data better. So we had to use Google Docs and change that over in All-in Learning. And then we started doing that, and then we got reintroduced to Nearpod and told to use it because, it does allow us to check for engagement, but there's a lot of technical difficulties that are out of the realm of our control, such as student computer not loading. For example, we got the Dallas bandwidth exceeded, and Dallas is a big district of 150,000 students plus like 10,000 personnel. So I think that there's a lot of things that aren't in our control, but they do fall in our lap, because if we have a class and we need to have 100% engagement, how am I supposed to do that if Nearpod isn't loading for student 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Real quick, the last question. So do you feel that leadership at this campus is involved when it comes to the programs and how they are, if they're effective or not effective? Is administrative aware of it? And if they are, how do you think they perceive it, or do they just wait for the district to handle it?
I do think a lot of it comes, I think, and this is just like a personal take, is that because the grading system is so robust in the sense that if you do one thing a certain way and somebody sees it and it's not done according to how they view the rubric, then you can get like graded poorly for it. And like that's on my mind all the time. It's like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? It causes a lot of stress. So I do know that in a meeting I had, we were told we had to have everybody on Zoom in the classroom and also at home. And when they did my observation, they noticed that wasn't happening. And I was like, that it's not feasible to do that, because the internet always crashes. A student is always interrupting to say that a Zoom isn't loading, that it's falling, that you can hear their mic and then echo. So there's a lot more obstacles, as opposed to having the kids here working not on Zoom and then trying to promote equity in that. And I think that they were like, okay, that's okay. So they did make the leeway with that. But in terms of, I'm not really seeing admin. And again, like the only comparison that I have is compared to last year, when admin was continuously walking around, coming in. Even our executive director was coming in like 2 or 3 times a week to check on things. So in a sense, like I feel relieved, but in another sense, it would be nice to have some things already done. For example, the district provides slides for reading, but they're not aligned to the test that we have to take, which if the kids don't do well on this test, then that I have to do an action plan and I have to do all this extra stuff in my already, very crunched up schedule. So there's a lot of, because of like the way the district's rolling out things and the lack of alignment between the different departments, that falls in, the laps of the teachers to do everything from scratch, when it doesn't, it confuses me a little bit as to why somebody's getting paid to do that when we have to do it anyways, because it's not aligned to these high stake tests that, ultimately rate me as a teacher.
Right.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that, knowing that leadership roles at the school they're all Zoom, so we're not having that contact that we're used
Mm-hmm.
to. That kind of sways away with what do I do? There's a
Yeah.
question mark again. And the way it's focusing this year is more with emails and Zoom
Yeah.
meetings. So it's kind of
And
hard to get
newsletters
that
too.
feedback from administration at
Yeah.
this time. And they're constantly in meetings, so that creates a little bit of havoc of what do I do now?
Exactly. Or is what I'm doing good enough, or is it the right way? But yeah, luckily I do have some members on my team that are very helpful, and willing to collaborate, whether it be communicating with parents or coming up with different ideas to incorporate vocabulary to build it so that we can, instead of doing double the work, we are able to streamline it between classes. So I've been very fortunate that way. Um,
That sounds about right. I thank you, Mr. Corfield, for your interview,
no problem.
and we'll see you later on. Thank you.